it seemed that there was other people inside there also. If you could imagine being in uh, a huge arena, like Arena Verona over in Italy or something like that, or Rome, or one of those places. Um, the concert venues that they have, where the players are way down below, and then it escalates out and fans away from you. This is what it felt like. It felt like it just kept on going up and getting away and becoming larger and larger and larger. There were people in there. I could hear other voices. Not like there was natural conversation, but you could hear other people in there with me. And this is when it was kind of explained that this was the staging area, and that someone eventually would come and get me.
I'm here today with Phil Bertholl, who had a near death experience and is here to share it with us. Welcome, Phil. I'm so pleased to have you as my guest today.
Well, thank you. Thanks. I appreciate the invite. Well, my near-death experience happened on 6/6/09. I was down in my shop and I was working late, and my wife had been really adamant about me working late. So, she said, "Hey, be home by midnight." And so I was working cleaning up some rags, and I was, bent over, but I I was, trying to keep track of my time and stuff like that. And so also my back was getting a little stiff, so I leaned up to, to stretch my back. And when, uh, when I stood up, I just happened to look at my watch to see what time it was. And it was 11:43. But then as soon as I stood up, all of a sudden I started getting these light tracers that were zip, 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 zipping, all in my eyes. And it felt like I was going to faint. So I made my way towards my office door, and I guess I careened off of that and then bumped off a filing cabinet. And I went, knocked over my office chair and a few things. And I just went right straight down the concrete. I never felt a thing. Next thing I know, I'm flying through two walls, my office wall and the shop wall, the actual exterior shop wall. And it felt like I was about 30 or 40 yards outside of my shop, but I was in some kind of uh, a black void. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know I was in a void. It was completely black. It was um, I mean, it was really, really black. More than you could, you just never, I didn't know quite where I was or whatever. And I reached on over with my left arm to find, grab a hold of my right arm, and uh, I never found it. It just wasn't there. So once I realized that I wasn't me anymore, um, I was in this dirt stuff, and if I explain it to some people, like it's vermiculite potting soil, the stuff that has the mica in it, the really light, fluffy stuff, and everything was nothing got into my eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, or nothing like that. But then I didn't have any eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, or anything. I was just a spark. So I was wondering how long I'd been in there. So I started counting, 1001, 1002. And every time I'd get up to 60, I'd hold out an imaginary, I still could hold out an imaginary thumb, and go one, and then start again, go to two, go to three, go to the next one. And then once I got to, believe it or not, once I got to 15, now I don't know where 15 came from or where I found the other hand at, but all of a sudden it just showed up. And once I got to 15, I had no more hands, it seemed. And so everything just, I started all over again. And so this was probably um, two shots of 30, 2 shots of 30 minutes or something like that, how long I was in there. When I was in there, I had questions like as to what, you know, where am I? What is going on? And the thing that got me was as soon as you thought it, the answer was right there. The answer was, I mean, it was it was amazing. It seemed that there was other people inside there also. If you could imagine being in uh, a huge arena, like Arena Verona over in Italy or something like that, or Rome, or one of those places, um, the concert venues that they have, where the players are way down below, and then it escalates out and fans away from you. This is what it felt like. It felt like it just kept on going up and getting away and becoming larger and larger and larger. There were people in there. I could hear other voices. Not like there was natural conversation, but you could hear other people in there with me. And this is when it was kind of explained that this was the staging area, and that someone eventually would come and get me. So after I was just laying there, and which probably I thought was about 45 minutes or so, um, in thinking in time, I all of a sudden I was back into my shop. Only this time I was up at the top of the ceiling, and I could see 360 degrees all at once. I could see the front of me, everything. I could see everything. The buckets I had the rags with down below me, and all of this. I floated towards I floated towards my office and around the door jamb. And then I could see the filing cabinet that I knocked over, and I could see all the invoices and stuff and the paperwork that was laying on the floor. I could see I had color. I could see the different invoices, the colors of the invoices that the people give you. Some companies give you the pink copy, some people give you the white copy, some people give you the yellow copy, and I could see all of those. And so I had color that I could see, and I could also, when I looked down, I kind of floated in straight, and then I was off to my I was off to my right, and when I looked down to my right, I saw myself laying down, and I thought, wow. And this is when I started floating towards myself. I was laying, pretty much face down. My glasses were broken. I had a tooth laying on the concrete. Little scar on my cheek. Um, I had I had this I had this just drawing of something pulling me towards the back of my head. And as soon as I got to the back of my head, I heard these words that said, "Come off of the floor." And then these hands, I mean, these huge hands, they were very huge. The front of the fingers and stuff would come around your chest, and on the back of my back, on my shoulder blades, on my shoulder blades were the thumbprints. That's how huge these hands were. And I was just raised to my knees. I had no arms, no legs or nothing like that. I was just raised all by myself, you know, right up to my knees. And if you're a gymnast, try that sometime. You know, but I just I set my arm down. Once I got raised to my knees, I set my arm down to kind of steady myself, and I turned to my left to see who picked me up, and there was nobody there. Nobody was there. So that's when I kind of realized that well, I crap my pants. When you go, you go. So, um, and then I thought, well, geez, how long have I been out? And I looked at my watch, and it was 90, or no, it was 2:09. I'd been out, or 2:07. I'd been out of body for 2 hours and 18 minutes. So I get I get cleaned up, clean myself up, and threw on some overalls. Pants were kind of ruined, and I headed on up to the house. Jumped in the shower, got all cleaned up, and I laid down in my bed to get just to get some sleep. And I guess I got about 2 hours worth of sleep, and then all of a sudden I woke up and I had this, feeling of water running in your mouth right before you're getting ready to blow chunks. So I zipped out of the bed real quick and I started heading towards the bathroom. And all of a sudden I started getting the zips, the zip lines, all in my eyes. And I figured I was going to faint again. So, or, I figured I was going to do something, so I sat down real quick in my recliner and I yelled at my wife to bring me a pot. And, Polly gets up and not knowing what was going on. And she came and got, uh, got a pot and I got sick and it was all blood. Apparently, I'd blown a vein off my liver, my outer vein off my liver, when I was down in the shop, and this is how I got to my NDE part. So after she sees that, and we see the blood in the pot, she just throws on a pair of sweats, and we just jumped in the car and just headed on up to Newport, which is 12 miles away, to the hospital, and they threw me in the tube and figured out what was all going on, and said that I had the outer vein had blown, and they didn't have it. They didn't have a what do they call a radiologist. Yeah, they didn't have a radiologist that could do the job at the hospital, so they shoved me in an ambulance with a 6-pack of blood, some plasma, and some serum, and shot me off to Corvallis, which was 46 miles away. So on the way there, we went through this area of pavement that was under repair, and I was, just being, every now and then I'd get sick from the blood, and when I was in the ambulance, and they'd give me a little mask, and I'd get sick in it, and then all of a sudden we started getting to this spot at construction, which was really, really bad, and there was an S90 in the pavement, and it even had alert strips uh, sewn into or grooved into the pavement. And so we're going along just, ambulance speed, and all of a sudden I heard that vroot, 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 when your tires run over that stuff. And we came off a 90-degree corner and it fell off a little embankment, and made it almost, immediate 90. Well, I was just loosely strapped into the gurney. The gurney was locked into the floor of the ambulance, but I was just loosely strapped on there with two of those stainless rails pulled up just so I wouldn't roll out. Well, when he took that 90-degree, I went completely up, right straight up in the air, and to the extent of what they had me strapped in at, and then when I came down, I landed on the railing, and it broke a prior fusion that I'd had done in my spine. So I was just in complete pain. So, he wanted to slow down. I said, don't slow down now. Just keep on driving. Just go like hell, and finally got me up, finally got me up to the hospital. And their radiologist that they had was new. Uh, not really new, but he was very young. He was a young doctor. And he tried 3 different times to get the stint to take. And he said he couldn't do it. And so when they wheel me on out, and the head nurse comes out, or the head doctor comes out and tells my wife and Polly that that's about the best that they can do. They can just make me comfortable, and that's it. So she happened to ask my wife. He says, how long has he been drinking? And she said, well, he hasn't had a drink in 8 years. And she goes, oh, really? She says, how about smoking? She says, well, he might smoke 2 cigarettes a day, if that. And she goes, oh my goodness. And then she ran back into her office, and she was calling the head doctor, head gastroenterologist at OHSU up in Portland. And he said, look at his liver, put it back in the tube, look at his liver, see if he has any tumors on it. And if he doesn't, put him on my roof. So I'm getting medevac to Portland, and they at Corvallis they kind of had a weird system where you get wheeled on an outside path that keeps on traversing up and down until it gets up to the level of the hospital. They didn't have an elevator, and so they just kind of wheel you around. And I get up there, and the helicopter was already there. They bring me on in, and oh, let's see, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm missing something. Um, when the doctor came out and said that that was the best they could do, she went on in to call um, the head gastroenterologist at OHSU, and all of a sudden I was in this blue tube, laying on the gurney. I was just in this blue tube. I mean, it was head to toe. It was modeled. It wasn't. Uh, it was about 2 inches thick to maybe a half-inch thick. It was modeled on the outside. It wasn't smooth. You could still see what was going on. You could see people outside. I could see my wife, Polly, the doctors. I could see the fish that were in the light of the hallway and up in the fluorescent light. Little things like that I remember. And as soon as I get put into into this tube, there were these 4 orbs that were inside. They were about the size of your fist. Um, when they all spoke to me telepathically, and what they said was, "You can't go. You have to stay." They said, "You are protected," and they said, "You are loved." And when they said the word "love," there was this ring that kind of emanated from all of them, and it it reminded me of a ring that you see off an atomic bomb that's on the desert. That really quick ring that not the bomb or the ball, the flame or anything like that. Just that quick ring, and it came sailing right at me. And when it hit my face and body and stuff, it was the most. Uh, I never felt love like that ever before. I never felt it. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So we get to the helicopter, get up in the helicopter. They lock me into the floor, and they kind of put you kind of cockeyed. You don't sit directly right behind the pilot. You're kind of off at an angle. And he says, "Okay." I could see he had his helmet on, and he had his night vision on, and the night vision was lit up. I could see the green light inside, and so he says, "Okay." He says, let's get the door and let's kill the light." So the EMT that was in there, he slides the door closed, kills the light, and the pilot all of a sudden just winged right around and stared right straight at me. And he looked down at me for about 4 or 5 seconds, and then he turned his head sideways, then he turned his head forward and powered it up, and away we went. That's pretty much, I don't really remember the ride that much. I kind of think I faded in and out. Once I got up onto the hospital roof of OHSU, they he opens up the door, and this tube that I was still in, this blue tube, floats off of me and out the door and around the corner, and it was gone. I'm looking at their elevator, and there was two interns with a gurney running towards the helicopter, and that's about when I lose my consciousness and I just blacked out. So I wake up the next morning and completely cured. A really good radiologist repaired the outside vein, and before he did that, he once he saw the outside vein was bad, he took the camera out and looked in the inside vein, and it was just as varicose and shot. So he went ahead and he just ripped it off and put a stent in that one too, and pulled the camera back out and all the tools and went around and did the front one, and then brought everything up, closed me up, and I was done. I was only there for 4 days in the hospital, but it was sure it was sure weird trying to put everything together, and uh, I was a little bit I was a little bit out of it because of my back. So they had me on something, and but at the end of 4 days, they finally, let me out, and they let me out on 6/10, which was Polly's birthday, and so that was every time her birthday rolls around, now she thinks about this deal. So anyway, once I get home, I didn't have it wasn't much I could do. I had my hip was all screwed up. Um, I was in a lot of pain on a lot of oxycodone, and so I just basically just started reading everything I could about NDEs. Read all the Michael Newtons and this and that, and all the Moody's. I just went through and I got like 60 some odd books or something, like 67 or something like that I've read. My wife read like 10, that are the most important that, have something to do with me, so she can understand a little bit more about what happened to me. And she's a trooper too. She understands now. Um, After about a year and a half after, my event, my aunt came up to visit me, and mom. Dad had already passed away, but when she got up, she was a clairvoyant psychic. She knew, she had all her clairs. She had constantly about 10 people talking to her all the time, all the souls. Um, when she was over in Hawaii, she worked on a little cruise ship, an island hopper, and they gave her a 60-person room, and she would sit there, and as soon as she would walk in the room, she'd just start calling out people's names and this and that, and who knows so and so, who knows so and so, and just amaze everybody. She was really, really, really good. Well, um, a year and a half after my event, she died, and she knew my mom had cancer, but she didn't want to do anything about it. It wasn't her way of. She didn't want to change things, type of deal. She wanted to just things would take its course, and plus she knew the mom had cancer. Plus, she also knew that I smoked pot and was a pothead, and that I would eventually cure mom with it. So this goes about a year and a half goes by, and Yvonne dies. But one thing I didn't know is she gave up a physical incarnation to become uh, my guardian angel. So now I have Yvonne. And she's I know her, and then my dad's dad is a guide, and then I don't know how many angels I got, but I got a boatload of those. After finding out that mom had cancer, um, we finally went to an oncologist. She was having problems going to the bathroom, both. And so we went to an oncologist, and she said, "Yeah, you do." And she didn't want to do chemo because it's just poison. And so when she went to, she said she would do radiation. So she went to a radiologist, and while we were talking with him, he was showing pictures of the tumor, and you could see the tumor. It was stuck right on her cervix, and you could see the tumor. It was no problem. But what I saw when we're looking at the whole body CAT scan, what I saw was all of her lymph nodes and stuff like that were all lit up sugar white, and I'd already metastasized into her chest and into her breast, and so I was going to lose her in a year easily. And so I asked the doctor if I could put her on RSO, which is Rick Simpson oil, and he said, "Yeah, sure." So he wrote out the medical prescription thing, for the state. Sent that in, sent him the fee, and it was about 8 months later. She was done. She was done with the cancer. Um, the doctor, the radiologist said, "I don't know what you're doing." He says, "But whatever it is, don't stop, because this isn't all the radiation." He says, "I'll tell you that right now. This isn't all the radiation." So I just kept on, uh, I did a, I did a, I did a podcast, uh, and the word got out that I was trying to help people that had, cancer problems or something like that by using methods that big pharma wouldn't tell you about, or using methods that the government, stopped talking about. And so it it kind of all started one day when I was at the store, a grocery store, and I saw a lady walking towards me, and she had on this plastic mask. It went on all the way around her face, no strings to go behind the ears, whole noses, nose hole, and there was a hole for her mouth. I looked at her and I thought, wow. I said, this is something. I said, and it's stuck there. So I'm thinking, it must be, you know, medically glued on or something. Um, I figured it was a broken jaw or something like that, or reconstructive surgery. I didn't think much about it. A couple other trips to the store, I'm seeing like 4 or 5 people now with these masks on, and I'm not knowing what's going on. Then it finally got down to the point to where uh, I was being like touched. Um, I walked by one lady and it felt like I was just hit with a brick. I stopped her and I asked her if everything was okay. I said, I feel there's some kind of something medically wrong with you. I said, are you okay? And she said she was just diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was almost 80 years old, and I didn't know what to think. So I just turned around, and I left. Um, it started getting to the point to where I was seeing maybe 30 people every time I went to the store. I was seeing people in cars. I was seeing people on the street and shit like that. I mean, it got um, it got really bad. A couple of people uh, I saw one lady on the street who had her mask moved. Her mask actually moved. It was like the metal guy from the Terminator. I mean, it actually just morphed and it moved a little bit. I saw that and I thought, oh, that's nice. And then I looked in the car coming right. I was getting ready to make a left-hand turn. The car coming towards me on 101. I look at that, and the person in the passenger seat's wearing a mask, and I thought, oh, this is great. Now I'm going to start seeing people in cars. And this has been going on for a long time. I had 30 36 right now serious patients, and uh, I've only lost 4. The rest of them are all not reminisce, but they're all in remission, or they're working with it, and a lot of them just haven't even gotten back to me to say, thanks. I've had 2 people out of 36 people say, hey, thanks. That really worked, and so it helps. But the thing that gets me the most is I really wasn't much of a Bible guy, but when I saw those orbs, and when I was in the tube, when I saw those orbs and stuff, it kind of changes things. It You begin to think the Bible is, kind of maybe, some of the stuff in there is kind of real. I had a girl who she was a psychic, and she had cancer, a blood cancer, and I got her on MSM and MSM and sulfur, and she was drinking that, and plus I put her on RSO, but the RSO was taking away all of her properties for her to be able to be a psychic. So I changed the RSO out and I made it CBD RSO, where the CBDs don't have the THC in it, and she could work. She could operate. She could talk to clients and stuff like that, and was reading people perfectly. So um, I was helping her out, making it with this stuff, and I started thinking. I thought, instead of me charging you money, how about uh, you do readings for me, and I'll give you the stuff. And she goes, yeah, sure, that's fine. So I showed her a picture of my aunt, my guardian angel, and she immediately hooked up. I mean, immediately hooked up. And Yvonne, she told me a couple of quick things um, about before I got here, and how how one I guess one of the things was is like I guess in my group circle, I guess I was being groomed to be an apostle, and there's two types of apostles, a good one and a bad one that can not necessarily bad, but one that can create strife and things like that. And apparently, I was being groomed to be the latter at two, and I didn't like it, so I jumped out of my group circle and I jumped into another one. And apparently, I jumped into the first body I could find, this one. So that's she told me that. Um, couple other things that she gave me a couple of past lives. Um, an Asian woman, an Asian boy, blown up by a mine. Let's see, Confederate soldier with a saber, so maybe officer material, but Confederate. Um, and also, I was a acquaintance with Saint Germain from the 1700s. Apparently, me and Saint Germain were buddies. We used to hang out and stuff like that. So I really get off on him. Um, I have a channeler over in the UK. She talks a lot with him and stuff like that. Says, I'll tell you a little secret. They call him the Big G. So for Germain, but there's definitely life after death. I just don't know. I don't know what else to say. Um, it changed my life. 180 degrees. Just like that. I like where I'm at now. Way better.
You never really were a big Bible person. So, were you raised with any kind of religion in your home?
All of them. All of them. My mom and dad were divorced when I was one, and mom kept on. She'd kind of follow dad around within closest cities, and she'd always hook up with churches and stuff like that to meet people and things like that. Um, mom was 19 years old when she had me. So she was still pretty young. So, but yeah, Southern, Baptist churches, this and that, Episcopalian, Protestant. So my buddies and I used to go with my buddies to Catholic school, to Catholic church, because I'd go with them at the Saturday mass, because that way they wouldn't have to go Sunday, and we go skiing. Because I lived in Juneau, so we could ski.
Do you feel like that had any influence on your near death experience, the different religions in your background?
The only thing that's really influenced is myself. Um, I I try to pass on as much as I can. Um, I try to, love is the answer. It's that's love everybody. Don't be an asshole. Be kind. All that stuff. And we'll make it through this.
It's such an incredible series of events from when it first started. I mean, being injured in the ambulance on the way there, on top of everything else that's happening, just incredible. Were you were healed completely in 4 days you were able to leave the hospital. Was your back also healed?
No, my back was better. Well, plus I was on the oxycodones. But no, it, as far as the liver and everything else was fine. And I had cirrhosis of the liver, and all my veins down coming out of my liver were let's see, varicose. And once you have cirrhosis, the only way you can get rid of it is by stop drinking. And so I haven't had a drink for 25 years, and my cirrhosis is gone. So just you know do what's right for your body, and it'll pay you back.
You said it changed you in every way. Who were you before versus who you are now?
I pay compliments to people. You know, um, rather than saying you're pretty or something like that, I'd compliment on your hair. You know, or I'd see if you had painted toenails, or you know or good painted nails. Stuff like that. That's you look outside of just what the normal. I don't know. You look outside of what everybody else normally thinks. I guess I don't know. I have a few friends that understand me and get me, and The rest of them are in the rest of my all the NDE groups.
So maybe you're able to see like more details about a person, see into them a little deeper instead of just a shallow surface level.
Oh, I'm empathic like hell. You wouldn't believe it. Oh yeah. Um, there's some there's some cool things that happen. That happen that God, I see a lot of liars. You can hear what you can hear what people are saying besides their words. It's kind of like you listen to the words that they don't use. You know, it's really interesting.
How has this experience changed the way you feel about death?
Oh, um, yeah, I would have nerd. That's it. Otherwise, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Yeah, there's nothing to fear, and plus I have three psychics, and all of them have said that I live until my mid 90s. My best one says I live till 91. So that's still 25 years to go, or 26 years to go. So I got a lot of time to tell people there's life after death, and that hey, you know, be nice. Love is the way to go.
You've got a lot of work left to do, huh?
It's fun. It's fun. Sometimes it's a little aggravating. Sometimes it's my empathy always gets it, especially when it comes to cancer people. When it comes to them, it makes a big difference.
What do you think the void was when you were there? Do you know what that was? There's a
The
question
void,
about that.
the void is a um, dimensionless, timeless, the dimensionless, timeless space all of its own. It doesn't sit in heaven. It doesn't sit in hell or anything like that. It's in its own dimension. There is no time inside there. This is why they were explaining to me that this is a staging area, and that everybody there that was in there in the background that was up in the rise is as I was imagining the rise, of the black void. That's how everybody was seeing things. Yeah, I'm glad it happened. Actually, slowed me down. Yeah, it really slowed me down. So yeah, and plus just being, this one in '09. This is about the only one I really remember. Back in the '70s when I was, you know, just out of high school and was farting around and experimenting and things like that. I OD'd on heroin, and then there was two other times where I OD'd on cocaine that was I thought was just regular old cocaine, and it was like 88% or 86%. It was almost pure, and yeah, I don't even remember. I don't remember hitting it. It just, I just blacked out completely. It was gone. So, so this is the fourth time for the NDE, and I've had four mini strokes also. So, but they don't seem to affect me. A little bit of my peripheral vision in one eye, and otherwise they don't seem to bother me. Sometimes I'll look over and I'll have an arm that's not there and it's flying up, you know, hovering up in the sky. It's kind of weird. Ooh, honey, look at this. So, but I've been, yeah. Last time, the one of the emergency nurses, he's seen me three times, and he even put a tickler into the computer so that he when I come in there for another TIA, oh TIA, systemic attack. Yes. Uh, when next time I come in for one, he wants me to be there. He wants there to be there for me. So it's cool. I don't think I'm going anywhere. Nothing seems to uh, nothing seems to give me any clues that anything's going to hurry up. Uh, I'm learning. I'm learning about as fast as I can, and the more and more, the more and more I learn, I just the media. I laugh at the media. It's such a joke. Um, I don't know. It's things like that don't bother me. Or they don't affect me. Oh, that's the news. Like, well, so what? It's not the news. The real news. This is, hey, you know, I got to see saints. That's the real news. So,
So you've died many times, but you only remember having this one near death experience or this one, I guess, kind of cluster of events
right.
situated around this kidney or the liver.
The only one that I actually remember. I woke up in the bathtub when I OD'd on heroin, and that woke me up and slapped me out of it. That's the only time I knew about that one. It was a psychic that I saw who said that, well, you died uh, two other times. He says you were doing drugs. He says once you were laying in the bathroom, and the other time you were on this guy's porch because the people didn't know what to do with me, so they put me on the porch. They were going to figure, I guess, say that I died or something like that before. So I don't know who was protecting me all this time, when all the other prior times, but thanks, you know.
Yeah, you definitely have something or someone looking out for you for sure.
Yeah, I'm getting more and more of what they want, making more and more sense. So things are going easier.
You have this beautiful gift to help others heal. Did that come from your near death experience?
I always thought about, mom was a nurse, so I was always interested in, hospital stuff, nursing things. We lived in California, and she was going to San Mateo County uh, college there and doing her nursing stuff. And with dad being gone and no real money to babysit me and stuff like that, she'd just take me to classes. And then if it was a boring class and stuff like that, I'd just go to sleep back on her, raincoat or something like that in the back of the classroom. And if it was she was in a lab or something, no, I was right up at the table with her. I thought that was neater than heck. So I got to see a lot of, yeah, a lot of stuff that other kids would never see in their lives. It really turned me on to oh, botany, and just whatever. Um, anything that was a mammal or anything that wasn't. I got into taxidermy.
If my viewers wanted to reach out to you, if they had questions or maybe needed some help healing, how can they find you?
They can get a hold of me on my email, lmdpb74 at gmail.com. So someone should have Larry, Mary, David, Paul, Baker 74 at gmail.com.
And I'll put that in the video description as well. So if anybody wants to email you, they can just click on that, get in touch with
Cool.
you easily. Do you have any last messages for my viewers today?
There's life after death. I don't know what else to tell people.
A very profound message indeed. There is life after death. Thank you so much, Phil, for joining me today. It's been an amazing pleasure. I've enjoyed this very much, and I wish you all the best.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.